what they will allow.
Okay. Let's take a step back here. You said double that. And if I'm doing 12 units and I got 12 hours extra that I got to spend out of it, you said double. That's a whole day. That's like, so it's 24 hours.
And I could be wrong. It could be more than that.
Oh,
I can't remember if it was 1, 2, or 3 hours per unit. But it depends on your professor, depends on your work habits. I was never one to spend that much time on my work because I was one who chose professors who did papers, and I was good at papers, so I could whip those out quickly. I also chose professors who, through sites or through friends too. You can talk with people who like have or haven't taken that professor. Ones who like told you to buy a book to read it, but then they would never assess you on that book that you bought and read. So then you just learned what you do or don't have to read. So that helped. You got to find the tricks to it. It's why I do recommend, and I think that question will come up, I recommend doing community college before university. Honestly,
that's the number one recommendation I've heard from other teachers is go to community first.
I wish I had done it. One, like financially, it's obviously the better deal. Two, especially if you don't know what you want to do, or maybe school isn't quite your thing yet. So maybe you need to practice on those skills, learn the type of studying or academic, strategies that work best for you. That's the place to figure it out, where you're paying only hundreds of dollars per class, not thousands of dollars per class.
That's what my mom told me. She's like, you never know, college might be your thing, and then you go to this big 4-year university and you got like $100,000 in loans.
Yeah, and it does depend who you talk to. I was just talking about this with another teacher, and they were like, no, I totally recommend the university, because sometimes if you start at a community college, you're not going to finish, and that is true. Oftentimes, maybe they don't have the perseverance or stamina, or they're just like, I would rather just go straight into the workforce. I'm earning money. Why do I keep needing to study? I will say, in order to move forward in careers, most of the time, especially now, you do need a 4-year degree. Yeah. So you want that degree. But I had a friend who did 2 years in community college, 2 years at our university, graduated in 4 years. So it's certainly doable. You just have to be on top of yourself. And it's okay to take a little bit longer, but take longer at the college. I also had another friend who they called a super senior. And by the time he graduated, he took 6 years at a university. My guy was in debt. Do not be that guy. He took 2 years longer than he needed to because he was switching his major. So it's better, in my opinion, to even just take 1 year at a community college. Try and work that stuff out and then go to a university. That is my suggestion. You can also get some AAs at a community college, which is not a bachelor's degree. It's a step below it. It's an associate, but that can get you in the door in a lot of places. So there's a lot of benefits there.
So maybe be cautious.
Oh, certainly.
And don't go for a major your parents told you. Go for the major.
That's super true. And yeah, on that note about choosing your major, some colleges will allow you to go undeclared. You're going to have to choose, though. I think it's your sophomore year. You're going to have to declare yourself. That gives you a year to try and figure things out. You're just going to take GEs. That's the other thing to take at community college is your first 2 years are just repeat courses of high school, essentially. Just a little bit more difficult. You're not learning anything specialized. So you'll get that specialized education in your last 2 years at a university. So if you're trying to avoid those expensive classes in university that are just basic, take it at a community college. But you do need to, at one point, figure out your major, because some colleges won't allow you to switch, especially if you've gone and declared. Some of them are like, no, you are set in stone on this path, especially if it's heavily impacted. You cannot switch. So you have to be very careful.
This is actually very helpful information.
I know.
Why do you sound surprised?
Our teacher left us.
I don't know what this means.
College and career readiness.
Yeah, he switched his
Not at
majors,
all.
but he was making major switches,
Oh my gosh.
in his life.
All right, Charles.
I said, because you said he kept switching majors, and he was making some major switches in his life.
Pineapple. She's trying to see.
Cucumber.
I have so much
Pineapple.
I need to do.
I don't like you right now. Don't stop my sneezes. I need to let them out. I can feel it right here.
We gotta.
Okay, next
So
question.
you gotta do the Declaration of Independence to colleges on your sophomore year.
The Declaration of Independence?
Well, you're dependent on them. The Declaration of Independence for the college.
Okay,
Not
Charles. Is there
speaking.
any? Is there any?
Sure.
Oh, sorry. Declaration of Dependence for colleges.
I'm cutting this out.
Okay.
Okay, Charles. Do you have any questions about college application? Anything? Anything to ask?
Did you dorm?
I did my first year, and thank God. Some people are fine with it, but when you have, I think it's called communal, where you essentially have like your room split up, and you might be just by yourself, you might be with 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. That depends on you and how much you want to pay for that dorm room. But those rooms are small, so be careful with how many people are in there. But if it's communal setup, you do not have your own bathroom and shower. You got to share that with 50 people.
Lovely.
Hard pass. The one I had my freshman year, thank God for it, is I just shared it with the room next door. So that I just had one roommate. The people next door, I think, were 3 or 4. So it's only one bathroom for, 5 or so people. So you got to like work that out. But I did do dorm life. It was fine. You got to be careful though. So for example, with dorm life, you can't cook. Right. There's not like there's a kitchen available to you. You're essentially you have to depend upon the food services provided at the school. So pick a school that's got decent food options at the very least for your first couple years if you're going to go there and be in a dorm. Sometimes too, as a transfer student from a community college, they might require you to live on campus for a year or 2. So something to keep in mind. You're not going to be a commuter maybe, but you have a higher chance of being accepted, by the way, as a transfer student. So that's something to consider. But at a dorm, you're dependent upon the food services provided by the school. Oftentimes that's done through points. So you are spending money at the school, they'll give you points in return that essentially act as currency, but oftentimes what happens is those points don't roll over. You have to spend all of them in that year, or otherwise essentially your money goes to waste because it's not going to roll over into the next year, it just disappears. So you have to be careful. It's why you'll see a lot of times college students on like the last week or 2 will go storming like they'll typically have like a little mart or like, like a 7-Eleven kind of stop. And people will be taking things out by the boxes because they're trying to use all of their points and they'll get random stuff. But better to have something than nothing for money that you spend. So either get lower than you think you might need, because you can always still at those locations spend money typically anyways, or go off campus. But just be sure you're not wasting money through those services.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So would you possibly like if you have like a teeny tiny little like electric stove? Oh, so you have like a little electric stove. Is that allowed? Like, and you bring like a little pot and you want to make like soup and stuff, or would they?
No.
Not even a microwave?
You can try and lie and hide things.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Do they do
Yeah,
dorm checks?
yeah, you can try. Yeah,
They do what?
dorm checks.
What?
So you
don't
can
make
try.
coffee
It doesn't mean that your RA is going to be, very thorough. That's your resident advisor, I believe, is the name for an RA. But they will check your room, obviously too, because you got to check is your campus a dry or wet campus, meaning you can or cannot have alcohol on campus.
That was rain.
So they're not at all. You have to check the rules for that dorm. Oftentimes those things aren't allowed. They'll probably consider them to be a fire hazard.
That makes sense.
I wish you could sign some kind of like, it's not a release form, but like some kind of form that's like, if I somehow catch the school on fire, I'm responsible for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, you are not going to be able to pay that.
No.
So they're just not
But
going to
I
let
want
you do it.
it.
But I want a stove. I need
But you're not going to get it. So
Have a buddy
So live
that
off
lives
campus.
off campus.
yeah, that's an option too. Typically not your first year. If you're going to be there for all 4 years, you're typically required your first year to live on campus. But then oftentimes too, my second year we lived in portables, actually, oddly enough, that were slightly off campus. Those did have kitchens. My third year, they had apartments as well. Oftentimes you'll see that for like your juniors and your seniors. I lived in an apartment my junior year and that had access to a full kitchen. You're just not going to see that in the dorms. Or two, if you do find a kitchen, that'll be in the general hub and that's available to anyone in the dorm. But I haven't seen a kitchen in a hub.
So are the like dorm checks announced, or are they like apartment checks where it's just like, I'm coming tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't recall any on mine. So if they did happen, they would have been unannounced to my recollection. But that was also like 5 years ago. So it's been a minute.
Wow. I was 13 5 years ago.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was a baby. I was just a teenager. I was just a little teenager. I was becoming a teenager. And I just got out of my tween age. 12.
Oh,
12.
for you.
Did you consider joining a frat? Or is it sorority for girls?
Sorority for women.
Did you?
I never knew that. Okay, I never knew like the difference.
Yeah, fraternity for men, sororities for women. Actually, our world history teacher could tell you a lot about fraternities because he was with one all 4 years. And so it's not like what media often makes it out to be, at least not always in his case. I did not join one and I didn't consider one. It can be very useful depending on what career you want to go into.
Connections.
Exactly. You can get a lot of connections through those, especially like through the alumni network and such like that. It was just not something I considered for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I didn't have to do.
Especially if you hear about
Oh, the hazing.
stuff.
Hazing, yeah, but not branding.
It's like an entry.
Hazing is so a lot of that has been made illegal now because hazing used to be bad and people died from it. So
Yeah.
it's essentially a way of like you're a freshman where the seniors were gonna make life rough for you your first year as a a new person as a part of the sorority or fraternity.
Yeah, they'd be like,
an
"It was-
initiation.
have you ever seen this?
Yeah, but it also might be ongoing. So you might want to have to do initiation to get into it, which could be, again, they're not going to make it easy oftentimes. And I'm only speaking vaguely from what I've heard, not from anything I know. And then once you're in it, there would be some hazing as well. So, and again, a lot of that has been made illegal because bad things have gone down at fraternities and sororities.
Have you
So-
seen the social project?
Okay, so just as like a parting question, is there any general advice that you would give people, whether senior year, junior year, just when they're applying, yeah.
in the process of applying.
Yeah.
Definitely don't mess up your junior year. They do care about that a good amount. So because your senior year, it's just your first semester that they'll look at. So you do have to make sure you pass all of your classes as a senior, including your second semester. You typically get to maintain those grades.
Oops.
So don't completely goof off and let senioritis take you. Why?
Senioritis. It's not bronchitis. Senioritis makes it sound like it's a disease.
That's the point.
It's not a disease.
No. And for the teachers then, sure it is.
A disease?
Yeah. That slowly then takes over and spreads across all the seniors, and then they turn into zombies who don't want to be here. They just disappear altogether.
I come
Well-
to school in sweats every day, and I'm tardy all the time.
Yeah.
I take one day every 3 weeks as a mental health thing now.
Don't they have mental health
I
days?
do that.
They have mental health days. They can't question it and just leave.
Oh, that's something fun too at colleges is that around finals time when we actually just went to go tour Pepperdine. I don't recommend that. It's $80,000 a year. I don't care how
Dinero.
good their stuff is.
You
No,
went to Pepperdine?
Mas Dinero.
we just toured there, and they said apparently they have a great pre-med program. I'm like, but $80,000 a year, that great?
Wait, a
No.
year?
A year?
That's like
That's to be clear, that's without any aid and stuff, but hard pass. But while we were there, they actually had, it was just around
$240,000.
finals time, I think, for them. They were bringing puppies and dogs onto campus as
the stress reliever.
as a stress reliever. Yeah. I don't think they do that.
Sometimes the kitties aren't nice. So
Yeah.
Puppies are generally nicer.
Cats are always nice.
Ooh, your cat hits me.
Yeah, my cat is kind of weird. But I feel like
Get to your junior year and your first semester of senior year.
Uh-huh.
Ew.
And then I would say utilize programs. For example, the South Bay Promise. What do you have to say about South Bay
Never heard of it before in my life.
Promise? Never?
Nope.
Are you serious?
Oh, I never heard about it either until one of
Did
the
you grow up in the
counselors
South
mentioned
Bay?
it. So I would
Did
say
not.
talk to your counselors about programs to utilize to get free education.
Hmm.
Whee!
Non-California resident.
Apply for scholarships. There was
grants.
Right.
Yeah,
And scholarships.
grants. Yeah, grants and scholarships. Because I think it was Mr. Frank or someone that said that one of his classmates was applying to scholarships every single day. Every single day, she was just like, "I just applied to the Coca-Cola grant or the Pepsi grant," and it was just every day. And then she was getting all of this money, and he was like, "I don't need that." And then now he's like, "I needed it." Utilize it. Make sure that you can not die.
And what I've heard about that too is you want to apply not necessarily for those massive ones that are 10 grand or more, but if you apply to little ones, often people will
And
overlook
accumulate it.
those. And so they'll have less applicants for those little grants and for those little scholarships. And so you have a better odds of getting that. And then yes, they do accumulate. Also look at the financial aid that is available through your school, whether it's college or university. Both have scholarship packages and aid that can be provided. But you do need to also then keep in mind, the qualifications, and oftentimes that is keeping up your grades, especially when you're a junior and senior, when they look at those for just acceptance in the first rate. Yeah, definitely don't be lackadaisical about applying for those, especially with how expensive college is now.
It's free money. It's free money. Take it. That's always what the counselors would tell us. Free money. Get it while you still can. they're a bit aggressive.
Oh yeah, they were kind of
There are stipulations though for some of those.
Stipulations.
Yeah, there are stipulations for some of those scholarships. Some of them can only be spent on books, or some of them can only be spent
they have
on
limitations.
limitations. Yeah, so you do have to be careful with some of those. Some of those are just for housing. Some of those are, for whatever the case may be. But again, still money that you could use in your education. You just maybe need to read.
You can use just on the daily. If you're I need a coffee and this is for my education, would you be able?
Some of them
to
are just flat out money. Yeah, and you can use that how you want.
They give you a bank account.
I don't think they're going to just give you a bank account. They might deposit into your bank account.
Well, I seen for a grant, a California grant, they give you this special school bank account.
So that's different. That's coming straight from the government. So they may have an account from you because you're pulling straight from government money. So it would depend on the type of grant or scholarship. Scholarship is going to come from an organization or from the university. A grant is coming from the government, whether that's state or federal. So you can always be aware of the terms and conditions, where it's pulling from, what it can be applied to.
Do your research.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. I think we covered a lot. Thank you for being on here. And that's it.
Yay.